Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to be here with you today. It is November 30th, a Wednesday in the middle of the day, and we want to speak with you about the update on the breaking news that has been going on for the last several days about Kanye West, President Trump, the 2024 presidential election, and the manipulation of your emotions to fortify the 2024 election. There is a lot of manipulation that is going on. There is very important information that you need to know about to make your best decision going forward. If this is the first time that you are seeing our channel, we want to welcome you and thank you for being part of our audience. We want you to know we do long-form political commentary. And every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live stream with you. We reach out on social media to be able to speak with you from anywhere in the world, to be able to hear your tweets, your chats, and your phone calls about the issues that matter to you that affect us all. Because we believe in the First Amendment. We believe in your right to be able to speak about the politics affecting you, whether it be your government agrees or not, whether or not the internet overlords agree. We want to hear your voice every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We hope you will join us. It's been quite the last couple of days. Since this weekend, we have heard and found out that President Trump had a meeting with Kanye West. And at that dinner meeting, he was joined by Kanye West to talk about the 2024 presidential election, amongst many other issues. A lot of news and a lot of theories have come out since that time, and most of that has been to demonize President Trump for having met not just with Kanye West, but Nick Fuentes as well, an individual known as a white nationalist. And Kanye West himself is under a lot of pressure for his many recent comments of anti-Semitic nature. So, what's the real story behind it all? We know the news media has focused and attacked President Trump as being an anti-Semite, as being someone who is a racist. Is that true? Well, we've already determined that isn't true. But there's so much more that's going on in this story, and we want to go back in time. We want to go over this with you to give you the update and to let you see what's really happening, how the 2024 election is already shaping up, and what you can expect for the future. Let me explain what I mean. You may or may not remember that in February of 2021, Time magazine revealed to the public that there was a cabal of individuals, of social media and other executives and corporations that worked together to fortify, their words, quote, fortify the 2020 election to make sure that the results would be the best that they could be. Or, in other words, to be what they wanted it to be. It was a manipulation. And whether you want to call it fortification or manipulation of the public, manipulation of voters, it doesn't really matter. And this isn't something that came from Russia. This came from the United States. And of course, we know that Kanye West is an individual who has said in 2024 that he, according to BBC News, he's announced his bid for a presidential election. And we know in 2020, Kanye was on the ballot in 10 states and received 70,000 votes. Kanye West is not an unknown figure. Going by the name Ye, which we will not use in this video, Kanye West is a rapper, a business mogul, and someone with a very strong self-image. He also wants, or seems to want, to be taken seriously as a political candidate. But whether you take him seriously as a musician, as an entertainer, as a businessman, or a political candidate, it cannot be said, it cannot go without saying that he has many issues. So, what we know for a fact at this point, President Trump has met with Kanye West for dinner. As it has been since revealed, And as we heard on Tim Pool before Kanye West walked away, and many people became aware of this story, the fact is that Kanye West invited Nick Fuentes to go to the dinner. In fact, there's a little bit more to that story. But this story is headline news for all the wrong reasons. You see, the news media is using this to try and condemn President Trump. They're trying to align President Trump with Nick Fuentes, who is a known white nationalist, who is a, minor at best figure in politics, someone who is on the fringe and in the shadows, who is seeking to get his name to be known, not very successfully, for many, many years. And very few actually know who Nick Fuentes is. If you're not a political junkie deeply involved with national politics, you've probably never heard of him. In fact, this whole thing is probably something that you only heard about recently when you saw that Tim Pool on Monday had an interview with Kanye West. In fact, we reacted to that interview, and we also, in that reaction, discussed that our sources were telling us President Trump had no idea what was going on, much like he said himself in his conversations, his posts on Truth Social, that President Trump was blindsided by this entire event, that Kanye West had reached out to him in October. This is by Kanye West himself, had stated in October he had reached out to President Trump to be able to have a dinner. That was pushed off until November by President Trump. The dinner was organized. Kanye arrived. He brought Nick Fuentes with him. This was after he had met with Milo Yiannopoulos, who had actually introduced Kanye to Nick Fuentes. Under what terms and what knowledge, I don't know. So the mastermind behind much of this controversy that we're seeing right now seems to be Milo Yiannopoulos, an individual who is on the record, both in the past and we will show you currently, who is seeking to harm President Trump, who is angry with President Trump and the Republican Party and is seeking to cause damage, knowing fully well that this may be the way to do so, which is a very selfish kind of thing to do. And we did bring that up in our conversation, in our review and reaction on Monday about this entire event. Now, there has been the claim, and it is being promoted even now in many of the articles, even today, we are seeing people refer back to, and several articles refer to, very fine people on both sides. We want to clear this up again. This is from the BBC News. This is from 2020. That President Trump didn't just say very fine people on both sides in 2017 at a Charlottesville rally. I need to make this clear because this is being circulated by multiple news sources on the left to demonize President Trump and the Republican Party. In fact, what was said by President Trump at the time, and he said, quote, "I'm not talking about neo-Nazis and white nationalists because they should be condemned totally." Something that he has condemned multiple times. In many, many interviews, press like to edit what was actually said. What President Trump had actually said, you had some very bad people in that group, referencing the neo-Nazis, but you also had people that were very fine people on both sides, talking about the protest overall and the people from BLM, Antifa, and the general public that were at the event, as well as people on the opposite side. Again, this is important. We have to understand the context of what is going on. We have to look back in time to remember what to see and understand what is happening before our eyes going forward. Because what happened in the past is helping to shape what is happening in the future. The fortification of 2020 included the demonization of not just President Trump, but everyone who supported President Trump. Some 75 million individuals that voted for President Trump, that some half of the nation that have a more conservative view than Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and so many others. And we have to remember that this is coming to us at a time where our nation is becoming more and more divided, where our nation is being separated on purpose. Joe Biden, who wants to say that he is a uniter, someone who's trying to bring America together, well, remember that when he was in Philadelphia before the 2022 midterm elections, Joe Biden happened to say that Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundation of our republic. That's demonizing a set of Americans. Americans who, what is MAGA? Make America Great Again. These are individuals who want America to be the greatest nation that it can be, to make America a prominent nation, a nation that is the best it can be. And he is demonizing them. That's why he never says, make America great. He only says MAGA or Ultra MAGA. He doesn't want people to think about what that acronym actually means. Because who's upset with making America great? Why would anyone not want America to be great? But let's go on, because Joe Biden on September 1st of 2022 went on to say, now I want to be very clear, very upfront. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans, are MAGA Republicans. So now he's further distinguishing not just Americans by their political ideology, but within that ideology, separating those who want to make America great versus other Republicans, assuming that there are Republicans who don't want to make America great, assuming there are Democrats that don't want to make America great, which seems to be silly considering he has an entire program built around the framework of Build Back Better. Isn't that the same thing? Because not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. Making America great isn't an extreme ideology, but yet he wants you to believe that. He has phrased it in a way that if you say you are MAGA, well, then you have now been made an extremist. This is demonizing individuals based on the political class. This is bias, and this is unfair, and it's inaccurate on many levels. And he goes on to say, but there is no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans, Make America Great Again Republicans. And that is a threat to our country. This is the man in the White House threatening American citizens for having political beliefs, something that in the United States is guaranteed by birth, according to our Constitution, and is identified and clarified in our First Amendment. In many nations, I can understand that some of our viewers around the world may not be familiar with this. That doesn't mean that they live under a structure similar to what's in China, where the Uyghurs and many other people, like in Hong Kong, disappear for their disapproval of the Chinese government, that their lives are in danger for having protests as they are protesting right now over the pandemic and the zero pandemic policy. Most people in the world don't live in China or North Korea, in Venezuela. No. They live in nations like the European Union, in Germany, in the United Kingdom, in Canada. But even there, you don't have the freedom to speak out. Look what happened to the Canadian truckers when they spoke out against the Canadian government's policies, and how Prime Minister Trudeau unlawfully, unconstitutionally, according to the Canadian Constitution, unlawfully punished Canadian citizens, many of them still being affected by his attack against them for merely expressing their views and protesting because he didn't like what they had to say. So the context is very important to understand what has led us to this point. We have a nation that is more divided today than perhaps at any time. We have divisions based on political beliefs that is driving our nation apart, and we are demonizing individuals for saying that they want to make our nation great, something that you can hear in every nation around the world. I don't care if you're in Venezuela or you're in the United Kingdom or in New Zealand, you want your nation to be as great as it can be. That is good for you, that is good for the world. Why is that a bad idea? I don't know. But yet we are being told that's not something that you should be able to support. That is the fortification of the 2024 presidential election, and I think it's troubling, and we need to nip this in the bud now. And Kanye is being used as a tool of that fortification of the 2024 presidential election, being masterminded by Milo Yiannopoulos. We're going to get into that even more. But what is being said right now? Well, quite a few things. We've heard individuals who have come out and spoken about the Trump's dinner with Kanye West and Nick Fuentes and saying that it vindicates the enemies of President Trump. It vindicates the enemies of a great America. It vindicates those extremists who have radical views. The article in Newsweek goes on to say, to be sure, Trump supporters have had good reason to dismiss claims that he is an anti-Semite. The accusations that he had called neo-Nazis in Charlottesville in 2017 very fine people is a lie, as we showed you from the BBC. Trump's historic record of support for Israel surpassed any of his predecessors. His administration also did more to combat anti-Semitism on college campuses more than any before or after him. Still, the meeting with Kanye West and Fuentes sends a signal to the country that outrage over their hate is merely another example of cancel culture run amok, rather than a necessary expression of concern about the way Jew hatred has become increasingly fashionable in some sectors of both the left and the right. In fact, let's remember, it's true that Democrats are guilty of similar actions that legitimize anti-Semites. Former President Barack Obama and Bill Clinton have met with Nation of Islam's Louis Farrakhan, who has done so much to foment anti-Semitism in the black community. And just this week, Secretary of State Antony Blinken took Representative Ilhan Omar, who has spouted memes of Jew hatred and is a supporter of the anti-Semitic BDS movement, as part of his official delegation to the World Cup in Qatar. Why is this important? There is a problem in our nation, a problem that has nothing to do with Kanye West, but is using Kanye West as a tool. A problem that has nothing to do with President Trump, although he is the figurehead to be attacked on it. This is an attack on you as the American citizen. This is an attack meant to silence those who would dare question our government, who would dare question the progressive ideology that America is on. In fact, as of this moment, according to Morning Consult, as of November 28th, 30% of Americans believe we're on the right track. 70% of Americans believe that the nation is on the wrong track, pursuing a failed international foreign policy, a failed domestic policy, failed economic policies, failed immigration policies is not to the benefit of the United States. But we're seeing that this is being distracted, that this is being turned against Americans who would actually bring that up. But let's get to the part of something that I think is very important. Why did President Trump meet with Kanye West? Kanye West is a troubled man. He has had many issues, some of them rightfully, some of them wrongfully. He has many issues, as with his lawsuit with Adidas and other legal problems with many banks. He has personal problems in his personal life, including his divorce that is ongoing. So this is a very troubling time, and there may be medications involved that are making it even more troubling for him. So why would President Trump want to meet with this controversial individual, this person who has many troubles, some from his own actions and some from outside of him? Well, what we found out, according to NBC News, and their reporting on this, which confirms much of what I have said through my sources and what I was able to determine, Trump is known for refusing to heed cautious counsel, guardrails, and gatekeepers. So he went ahead with the dinner alone, the dinner with Kanye West, telling confidence that he thought Kanye West needed counsel. One confidant told NBC that Trump acknowledged He wanted the rapper to be seen because it would be fun for members of Mar-a-Lago. So two things are happening. It's positive to have Kanye to be seen in the public. People like this individual for many reasons. And so there's nothing wrong with that. President Trump has a pre-existing relationship with Kanye, who was a supporter of his and supported many of his ideas. Kanye is well liked amongst many people in the black community and well beyond that. But Kanye is troubled, and he does need counsel. He needs someone to help him, whether that be on a business level or whether that be professional or whether that is personal. Many can decide for themselves how they feel about that, but it never hurts to have another person help talking to you in your time of need. And it seems that was the motivation by President Trump, which is altruistic and has nothing to do with politics. He was doing this on a personal level. So we can understand the why. Why did this happen? Because President Trump was trying to help someone, according to NBC News. That should be something that would be lauded, but politics is politics. And the politics here is that someone decided to abuse that kind of generosity coming from President Trump. Whether you like President Trump or not, does not change why he did this. But knowing that that is his nature, at least with some individuals, Milo Yiannopoulos went out of his way to set up President Trump. We know this now as being reported by the BBC and The Guardian and major news media. Milo Yiannopoulos claims he set up Fuentes' dinner to make Trump's life miserable. We now know the truth. In fact, Milo Yiannopoulos told NBC he was arranging a meeting just to make Trump's life miserable because he was aware news of the dinner would leak, which would make us think that he is the one who first leaked the news of the dinner. Now, of course, The Guardian couldn't just leave it there. They buried this announcement. Even though they started off saying with the title that this was a setup, they buried the actual proof of that setup deep in the conversation. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 9th paragraph in there, and what's commonly called in the news media below the fold, which means that if you're looking at the title, you won't see the actual quote when you're just looking at it on your screen. They buried the actual proof and the key part, and in fact followed it up by making an accusation and a claim that we know has been debunked. The Guardian says Trump has engaged with racists in the past, including claiming there were, quote, very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally in Virginia, which resulted in the death of a protester. Well, the BBC and major news media have long since denounced this. This is a false claim. The Guardian is literally promoting misinformation because they want to distract from the fact of what their actual headline is, that President Trump was set up. Whether you like President Trump or not, it doesn't matter. This was a setup. This was meant to twist your emotions. And the way that they are arranged, the 9th and 10th articles, burying the proof that President Trump was set up in the 9th paragraph, and then the 10th paragraph being the reiteration of a false claim, a proven false claim, they're setting you up. They're emotionally manipulating. They're making sure that they're pushing an agenda, a message that says you should not like President Trump and you should not like conservatives or Republicans or making America great. These are the implications of what they have said. Let's go on. We know that Milo Yiannopoulos has said, I also wanted to send a message to Trump that he has systemically, repeatedly neglected, ignored, abused the people who love him the most, the people who put him in office, and that kind of behavior comes back to bite you in the end. This is being said by a man who wanted to hurt President Trump, who set up a event and leaked an event, presumably, that he knew would be picked up by the major mainstream media who have huge opposition to President Trump, to a huge opposition to conservatives and Republicans, and huge opposition to making America great. He knew that they would carry his water and fortify the 2024 presidential election just as they fortified the 2020 presidential election, as Newsweek told us in 2021. This is a setup against you, and Milo Yiannopoulos used Kanye West to get to that objective. Milo Yiannopoulos seems to be the mastermind behind all of this. Milo Yiannopoulos had a goal in mind. He doesn't like the Republican Party in the United States because of his loss of power within that political framework. Milo Yiannopoulos is angry at President Trump for not recognizing him and his own beliefs of his value as a politico. That's bad enough. But Milo Yiannopoulos has harmed not just President Trump or Kanye West, he's harmed the American people. He's furthered the divide, this political bias that is separating the United States, just to get an advantage for him. He used the white nationalists who didn't even realize, Nick Fuentes isn't even smart enough to realize that he is being used as a tool to attack someone who actually does matter. Whether you want to say that's Kanye West or President Trump, it doesn't matter, that he is the least important of everyone that was involved in there. Now, we want to make sure we're clear. This was engineered from the beginning, manipulating multiple people along the way and the good nature of many people, including President Trump, to do the right thing. Kanye West wanted to run for president, apparently, in 2024. He believes he has a winning strategy. Whatever that is, no one knows because Kanye has not made that clear. And he believes that his popularity is enough to be able to help him to win, presumably. And he sought out individuals that would be able to help him in the political arena to promote his ideology, his fame, his popularity, to get him into the White House. He met with President Trump to try and get President Trump on his side. President Trump was looking at this from the point of view of trying to help a troubled individual, an individual who is in trouble both because of his own actions and actions outside of himself. And that he, of course, confirmed that he was running for president, and of course, he was not going to support Kanye, but Kanye is not as popular, nor has the support that he believes he does. And I know in the comments that we have received on Monday, many people were telling us, well, no, Kanye is far more popular than you think, that Kanye has a worldwide audience that would be happy to support him. It didn't happen in 2020. He was even more popular then with fewer issues than he is in 2022 and probably will be in 2024. But Kanye is a tool. He was used. Milo Yiannopoulos had a goal. He has admitted that goal. It was meant to attack and fortify the 2024 election, much like we saw in 2020. That he is working and using the bias of the major news media and the individuals in the cabal of 2020, using them to do the damage he cannot do by himself because he doesn't have the political power to do so. And I feel bad for many people in this scenario. The people in Trump's entourage that had the intention to do good. People who were used by Milo Yiannopoulos in this scheme to try and take down individuals who had good intentions, whether that includes Kanye West, that includes President Trump, that includes their staff. And he used and took advantage of the news media. That's the one part I think is important, that he has highlighted to us that the news media is so biased that they will leap at the opportunity to denounce and take down anyone who does not agree with the approved progressive messaging, anyone who would oppose their maintenance of power, they are happy to jump on that and demonize them in the worst way possible, even though it's not true. And even internationally, we are seeing that there are individuals, organizations that are left-leaning in their nature, progressive in their nature, that are happy to try and make sure that even as they admit the truth of the scenario, that they reinforce lies that have been around for 5 years now and have been debunked for 5 years in a row. They're going to continue to maintain these lies to manipulate you and your emotions, to try and reinforce those lies in your mind, to deny you the opportunity to evaluate the election and the candidates honestly. They don't want to tell you that we are in a recession. We've been telling you that since February of 2022. They don't want to tell you there is a global food crisis. The White House admitted that in March of 2022. We've been talking about that since January of 2022. We've been talking about the energy crisis all year long. The news media doesn't want to address that. In fact, the Biden-Harris administration have been trying to tell you that they've got it handled and that things are fine. They are demonstrably, empirically not fine. There is an agenda here. And there are a lot of people who are being used in that agenda. And part of those people who are being abused and used are you. If you want to support Kanye West, fantastic. Knock yourself out. It's your vote. I hope you have a reason. More than just Kanye is famous. I hope it's not what Milo Yiannopoulos has done. And your reason is what Milo Yiannopoulos is putting out there, which is a setup. He used your emotions and the news media to try and hurt someone because he selfishly isn't getting what he wanted, what he thinks he's entitled to. This story has a life of its own. And that life grew when Kanye West walked out on Tim Pool on Monday, and many of us have reported on it. But the most important thing isn't Kanye walking out on Tim Pool. It isn't the fact that Kanye West is running for president in 2024, nor is it President Trump running for president in 2024. I think the most important thing is the fact that we need to look at free speech as it applies to social media. I think the important thing is the honesty in our elections and the impetus, the focus of major news media and social media to work as a cabal against the public, to manipulate emotions, to disinform and misinform the public knowingly about things that have been debunked, that have been proven to be incorrect, to get an outcome that benefits them and their political ideology. Perhaps you don't see the importance of what I'm speaking of. Maybe you don't think that they are trying to put together a cabal to fortify the 2024 election like they did in 2020. Well, the links are in the description. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. I look forward to seeing your comments, and I hope that you'll join us on Sunday during our live stream at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about this and the many other issues that are affecting us all every day. I thank you, and I look forward to seeing you soon. I know you've heard it before. What difference does it? You make the difference. When you watch, chat, tweets, your likes and shares, and your subscription, you make the difference. From across the world, you help us to keep the lights on and the stream alive. You are making the difference to fight the woke and the crazy legislation that we see before. We at No Soundbites Allowed, and I want to thank you for everything that you do in helping us reach our goal, and your likes, your tweets, your comments, and your subscriptions to the channel. We want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. And this is a special thank you to those who have donated to the channel and helped us in all of our efforts. We will strive to make this channel the best that we possibly can, because you deserve no less. Thank you.